Welcome into Forever Forward, my friend, my brother, Sebastien.
What's going on? How we doing? I'm glad to be here.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm stoked that we finally kicked this up. We've been saying we got to do a pod for a while, and we're finally here.
Dude,
so it's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I think you're going to be an excellent guest for a lot of reasons, but the ethos of this podcast is really about people that have extraordinary stories and interests that span a whole bunch of different things. So I guess maybe a good place to start would be your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about what you do on YouTube and I would say what that passion is like.
Okay, yeah. No, I started when I was in Japan. My buddies liked these thrift stores.
Okay.
And I came back on leave, and Jess's older brother, Joey, collects these Hot Toys. They're like $250 figures that are lifelike. And I see these, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick. But then I go back to Japan, and these guys are like, come to the thrift store. I'm like, okay, I'll go.
Okay.
And I start getting into action figures again. I'm like, man, these are like what I had when I was a kid. And the nostalgia starts to come back. So I start up a YouTube channel. I have no clue what I'm doing.
And this is all while you're in Japan, which we'll get to your time in the military in a bit.
Yeah.
But you're serving in the military at this time.
Well, at that time, yes. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm in Japan, going to thrift stores with these goober of guys. And it's just crazy how I got on YouTube one day and was like, I'm just going to record myself at these toy stores. And I'm just going to kind of go around. And I'd seen people, don't get me wrong, I'd seen people doing it. Yeah. And I was like, man, I could do that. Like, I like this. I have a good time. I can do this. I'll enjoy it. And then I'm buying stuff left and right. And I just call myself The Toy Man.
So your YouTube handle is at The Toy Man.
It's TH3 Toy Man. And I was just like, I like the number 3.
Yeah.
And I like toys. And I'm a man. The Toy Man.
And you know what I love? Your bio, I believe, is... like an adult still living like a kid.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
So what is it about collecting figures that makes you, I guess, feel that childlike sense of wonder all over again?
Well, dude, I think it just came back because when I was a kid, I'm always going to Toys R Us. I'm going to KB Toys. I'm going to all these stores.
Does Toys R Us still exist anymore?
No, I wish it did.
Okay.
It doesn't, unfortunately. They got to bring it back.
Yeah.
But... I'm going to all these stores all the time, begging my grandma, begging my mom. And I loved wrestling figures. That was what I grew up on.
Yeah.
Like, that was my big thing. I liked wrestling from 5 years old till I was like 13. Then I was too cool, all that stuff.
Everybody goes through that phase where the things they liked are no longer quote-unquote cool.
Yeah, yep. So I think for me, it's just getting these characters like John Cena, like Hulk Hogan, like... I don't know. I got random stuff, dude. The Muppets, Garfield the cat, just things that bring back childhood memories that I go, oh, I would like to have that just in the man cave. Like in my head, it's always the man cave. I always tell my wife, like, the man cave. Oh, this is going to look great in the man cave. I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment.
So you have a man hallway.
I have a man hallway,
right?
And it's loaded with toys.
Like, it is loaded. And if anybody listening goes and checks out his channel, which, by the way, you should, you'll see his background is just shelves and shelves of all different types of figures.
Yeah, man. I tell my wife, walk carefully. Walk carefully through that hallway.
Because if you so much as misstep.
Oh, yeah, it's going down. It's going down. Everything's crumbling to the ground.
So what types of videos are you making?
So, honestly, a wide range.
Yeah.
I like to do, because I get a lot of crap in the mail, essentially what people would think is crap.
What some people might call crap.
Yep, I call it plastic crack. But it comes in the mail. I open it up. I review it on the channel. Just if I like it, if I didn't like it, what my expectations were, if it was hit or miss.
Yep.
Those are reviews.
Cool.
I also do toy hunts, going to Target, going to Walmart, going to stores all over Connecticut, the New England area. If I could drive there, I will. And just showing the store, basically just showing, oh, this is what this store has, and this is what I like. This is what I might pick up.
And I think an interesting point on the toy hunts that we were talking about off the air is that apparently the toy hunting community in Connecticut and Northeast more broadly is like pretty aggressive.
Dude, it's rough. It's rough. I go to Target in, I'm not going to say where, because just in case they somehow heard this.
Yeah, you'll dox yourself.
Yeah. I go to 2 Targets that are right next to each other in Connecticut.
Okay.
And it's on this main road, busy, booming area.
Yep.
Dude, I get there at 7:50. They open at 8.
Oh, so you're there before they open.
Just to get there. If I get there a little
Yeah.
early, I'm there.
Yeah.
There are 2 old men that are standing outside at 7:45.
Waiting to get toys?
They are waiting for the doors to open to Target so they can run in the Hot Wheels aisle and get what they want. And if they know that something's rare, like if they know, oh, this figure is selling for 100 and it goes for 25 at Target, they'll buy it and just flip it. So for me, I might be looking for that figure.
Yeah.
But if they know, it's theirs.
So it's funny you bring up flipping. What's your view on that?
On flipping,
Yeah.
I feel, okay, if we're going to be honest.
Because I feel like it's part of this community. It's buy a rare
Definitely.
piece at retail and sell it for an upcharge.
Yep. So if I collect something, or if I know someone that collects it,
Yeah.
like if I find a figure, let's just say AEW, I don't collect AEW wrestling figures.
Yeah.
If I found something that I knew somebody would want and they genuinely collect it, I'm going to offer it to them, but half of what it's going for. So if it goes for 100, I'll give it to them for 50.
So you still make a little.
I'll make more than I paid for it. Yeah. And I know if they're going to really love it, then I'm down with that. Because if somebody hit me up and was like, oh, you know what, Sebastien would really love this, then I'd be like, dude, that was sick of him to do that.
Right.
But at the same time, if I don't know anybody, it's going on eBay that day because it's the luck of the draw.
It's kind of like finders keepers.
It's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah.
You go to the store and you spend money on yourself.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you're like, oh man, if I buy that, then I can profit $80 on the day and it wasn't a loss.
Yeah.
You know, so again, I don't do it often because I don't find anything up here, to be completely honest. But if I do find it and I don't have any good friends that would want it for half of what it's going for,
Yeah.
then I'm going to put it on eBay. And I always do lower. If it's going for 100, I will always put it up for 75.
It also probably sells faster, right?
Yeah, well, that and I know it's not, I know it's going to drop.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll put it up and make a little bit of money, but I don't do the flipping for a living. Like that's not my thing.
And so you've got reviews, you've got hunts,
Yep.
and unboxings.
Unboxings are always fun. That's just getting stuff in the mail, getting a box, opening it up on camera, and showing this is what I got in the mail. Hope you guys like it.
Sometimes you do mystery boxes.
Mystery boxes are fun, but I recently told my wife, don't let me get one again because every time I get a mystery box, it is, no offense to the companies I bought from,
Terrible.
they're awful. Yeah. They're awful.
I mean, look, I think they do them to get rid of excess inventory, right?
And it's smart because you got guys like me who are going to go, oh, but I could hit that one. And there's like a 1 in 1,000 chance.
So you're not going to hit that.
No, I mean, you could. You like essentially you could. I've never seen anybody post and be like, look what I got. So who really knows, I don't want to get into conspiracies.
Yeah, right. But in theory, you could hit it.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So at the beginning of this interview, we were talking a little bit about where this passion for figures started.
Yeah.
And it was back during your time, well, a little bit prior to, but during your time in the military is when you really brought it to life.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what led you to joining the military. What did you serve in? And I guess what it was like.
Okay. Yeah, I did technically 6 years in the Air Force. I did like 1.5 reserve, or actually it was like 2 reserve, and then like about 4 years active. And I basically was in a weird place in my life where a lot of things, which are pretty common, I don't want to act like it was like a hard knock life, but my parents were splitting up.
Yep.
My grandfather had just died. I'd gone through a little high school breakup, and I was basically at this crossroads where I'm like, if I go to college right now, I'm going to be a C- student.
You knew that.
I knew because I was doing all the wrong things. I was still smoking weed. I was still drinking, doing all that stuff. And I knew if I go there, I'm going to continue down this road, or I can stay home and work and then have to be working for a long time, or I can go to the military because I told my grandfather the last thing I said to him, I'm going to make you proud. And he was the only person in my family to ever do the military. He got drafted to Vietnam. So
really?
When I thought about when he passed, I was like, what better way to make this awesome dude proud than to go follow in his footsteps, serve our country. Thank God not in the same manner that he did under war terms, but just to get out there and, establish myself as a young man and get myself the footing in life to, one, stay disciplined physically, stay disciplined mentally.
Right.
And also the college, just getting the free tuition and all that stuff, just the benefits. It all aligned, and it looked like the best plan for me moving forward.
Well, I think in hindsight, I'm sure it was definitely the right move, and it was.
Yeah.
But at the time, that must not have been the easiest choice in the world when a lot of your friends were doing other things, right?
Yeah, no, it was tough. I remember, you went to the same high school as me. It was really, I was insecure.
Yeah.
Because you're walking through the hallways, and that senior day where everybody's wearing their college shirt is
Right.
there, and everybody's got on, Villanova, UCLA, like crazy colleges.
Right.
And you're like, dude, I'm going to the Air Force, and I just enlisted. Like, I didn't really do anything to work for that. And that was in my head, like, I just signed a paper and I'm going. And these guys worked to go to college, and now they're going. And for me, once I got to the military and I did the training and I busted my tail, that was when I went, okay, no. I had to earn this. It wasn't like in the training, and people could say what they want. It wasn't the hardest thing in the world, but you're away on your own. And I was 18 years old, just turned 18. And for me, that was a step in the right direction. You're going into something uncomfortable.
Yep.
And you're a young man or young woman, whatever you are going into the military as. And that was just a moment for me where I went into the uncomfortable situation, and I knew, okay, I did earn this. I had to work for this.
Well, the funny thing is first of all, I think you did earn it in a lot of ways.
Thanks.
And I think what a lot of people are probably curious about is, and me as well, is everybody has this idea of basic training. What is it like physically? What is it like mentally? I've seen videos of drill sergeants. It doesn't exactly look like the most friendly place in the world. Could you kind of talk a little bit about what that process was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always everybody's different. I'll say that. Like, some people go and they're like, this was a cakewalk, and that's awesome. For me, it was difficult because, like I said, I was 18. I'd never been on my own completely like that. I mean, it was 3 months completely alone. And for me, it was a lot different because they thought, I learned this later on in the end of training, they thought I was 30 years old.
Well, you didn't exactly look 18.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, I guess. But
you've looked like a grown man since you were like 13.
Yeah, you're not lying.
Yeah.
But they thought I was 30, so they made me. It was called the dorm chief, and it's kind of a corny term. But they basically, I was in charge of the 52 guys, just making sure everything was in order, whatever it was. And that whole thing right there off the rip, I'm stressing. I'm like, oh man, this is serious, this and that. And in reality, it wasn't that serious.
But what if you did mess up as dorm chief?
Well,
what if one of your dorm mates, or however you call them, had their room, out of order?
Well, it was different every time. We had one day, I always tell this story, really funny story. It's not so much funny, it's really cool.
Okay.
This story, how it played out, because we're like 2 weeks in, and I'm still, I'm cold, I'm stone cold. Like, I'm not smiling, I'm as unbreakable as I've ever been. Like,
you're locked in.
You couldn't get me. And so they tell me, one of the sergeants, oh, you got 5 minutes, 52 guys, remember that. 5 minutes, everybody's got to be showered, everybody's got to be dried off, and in your uniforms when we come back in, 5 minutes starting now. Closes the door.
He says that just to you?
Just to me. And I'm like, guys, get in the shower, let's go, 5 minutes, let's go. So we do an assembly line, I'm not trying to be graphic, but an assembly line of 9 shower heads just going around.
And everybody's getting clean.
Just boom, 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 going through. And we did it. Everybody's dressed. They come back in. Is everybody done? They're yelling, whatever. They're not allowed to swear, by the way. We'll talk about that.
Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think maybe because people would laugh. I mean, if you're getting...
Yeah, and then someone's doing that. Yeah, I hear you.
It would be tough. But, so they come back in. They're checking everybody. Their uniform's got to be the right way. Everything's got to look right. You got to, blouse your pants and stuff. So shirt's tucked in, everything. Belt's the right way, everything.
There's 100 different things that have to be correct.
Little stuff, yeah, but it adds up. So one kid didn't have his laces. When he tied them, you're supposed to put the loops in your boots tucked. One of them was not tucked in. And the sergeant comes back over to me, And he's like, one of your airmen didn't have their or trainees, because we were trainees, we weren't airmen yet. We didn't earn it.
Right.
He's like, one of your trainees didn't have his laces tucked into his boots. What do you got to say about that? Sir, I'm sorry. I have nothing to say.
Yeah,
It's,
what can you say?
Unexcusable. Whatever I said. He's like, all right, well, now you're gonna give me up downs, and you're gonna give me push ups until I say you're done. I'm like, okay. So I do a couple up downs. I'm sweating, and I just showered. So I'm like, this is a bad way to start my day. And so I'm like, up, down, whatever. Then I start doing the push ups, and I'm just focused on him. I'm looking at him. He's going up, down, one, up, two, whatever, down, whatever. And I start to see all the people drop next to me, just start doing it with me. And I was like, dude, that is a cool military story. Because even though it's a minor thing, people are like, oh, dude, I was in the battlefield. I'm like, that's awesome. That's
you're
great.
like not taking that away from you.
I wasn't in the battlefield. So for me, that was a cool little military moment where I was like, okay, these guys are starting to get it now. Like we're a team, and we have to work as a team, or we're going to fail as a team. And just to see all these dudes that I've only known for 2 weeks, but we're getting closer. And then they're like, oh, man, he's doing all these push-ups, and he doesn't deserve that.
So we're going to do them too.
So we're going to do them too. And that was cool. That was a cool little story I always tell.
Yeah.
And I got funny ones too, but honestly, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think, at least Air Force basic training, you're there for 2.5, 3 months, and you're just learning. Really, you're learning. You're getting in shape, and you're learning how to be a disciplined young man. You know,
I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, man, to learn.
No, I mean, and again, it's tough mentally because you're getting like, I think 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
Okay.
But you have to get up, like you do a rotation of who's guarding the door or whatever. It's like little stuff like that. Nothing serious, thankfully. We're not in war or anything crazy, so I don't want to overplay it.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely it's hard work, but it's doable. It's achievable.
And look, you said, we're not in war, and so you didn't see any combat, and you weren't technically, quote unquote, deployed, but you were stationed overseas.
Yeah.
And you talked about Japan, but what was it like going to a country you've never been to before?
Dude, it was unreal.
Yeah.
It was unreal, man. I remember getting off that plane, and I'm sitting there, and it's me. I'm 6'2".
Yeah,
240, whatever.
Biggest hands you ever seen on a man?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Show had big hands but I'm getting off this plane. It's all Japanese people, of course. And I'm like, man, dude, I'm really in this. Like, I'm really, like, because I was locked in for a 2-year contract in Japan. So I'm like, dude, I'm here for 2 years. Like, it's not like I'm here for 2 months.
Yeah, like, there's no going back. You're there.
This is it. Like, my contract says 2 years. That's it. So when I got off that plane, and this little white dude, I'll never forget him, he picks me up from the airport, and he's like, so kind of a culture shock, huh? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like we're driving around. It's all Japanese signs all over the place, like McDonald's and stuff. And you're like, dang, like this is really
Had you ever been out of the country to that point? That was so your first time leaving the US was in Japan. Was to go to Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my first time. And I remember I got on that plane, dude, and at the time too, I was single. I didn't have like a girlfriend texting me going, "Oh, you okay? Everything?"
Well, hey, that's an interesting story that we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I was single. So for me, I'm like, I was also in the right mind at the time, more so than not, of being a man of God. So I'm trying to go, do I even want to waste my time with a girl? Like, maybe I'll just do me. I'll do 20 years, and I'll be in here for 20 years, and I'll just do me.
Totally.
So I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like 19 years old going to Japan, and I'm just thinking of every possibility of where my life can go.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a culture shock for sure.
And then as far as what the base was like in Japan, were you guys in basically dorms?
So, yeah, I've heard horror stories from people, all the military people talk. Like, I work with guys from the Navy, from the Army, from the Marines. Everybody's like, oh, you Air Force guys, you don't know. You don't know nothing about, like,
how bad it is.
Yeah, how bad it is. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I had a dorm. I basically slept where I took a crap. It was so tight. Like, I mean, you have your bed, you have a microwave and a fridge, a little desk where I would film my old YouTube stuff, that little tiny desk. And then you have the bathroom, got a shower and a toilet, and that's it. So And a sink, a mirror, the basics.
Was it just you, or did you have a roommate?
So when I was in Japan, it was just me.
Yeah.
When I was in Texas and all the training facilities, I had a roommate.
Okay,
So
because you were other places other than just Japan.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had roommates in every place other than Japan.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
And I guess because we haven't touched on this yet, what did you do for the Air Force? Because
So,
you weren't a soldier, you weren't deployed.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think like everybody is considered a soldier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I consider the soldiers like the guys that are out there in Afghanistan, wherever they are.
Yeah.
For me, I was basically an aircraft technician, aircraft mechanic. They're called crew chiefs.
Okay.
There's two different forms of crew chiefs. There's a phase is what they call one, and I was that in Japan. That's more heavy maintenance, more jets that have flown a certain amount of hours and
Yep.
they need repairs, they need inspections. That was what I did for the 2 years in Japan. Then when I finished up in South Carolina active duty, I was flight line, and I give those guys a lot of credit because it's a lot more stressful work. Quick inspections in between flights, so plane will come down, pilot will get out, you'll recover it and park it. Then when you park it, pilot gets out, you salute him, whatever, ask him how his flight was, and from there you have to inspect it within a certain window because those planes are going to go back up. New pilots are going to come out, and you're going to launch that guy. You're going to refuel the jet.
How quickly is that turnaround?
So honestly, I can't give a pinpoint time because the days were just so hectic. Like they're like, hey, Colon, go to this jet. Hey, go here, go do this, go refuel this one. And like it's constantly moving. So it felt pretty quick, but in reality, I feel like from the time that I would recover and like park a jet until I was sending another one up, it differs. It differs on them, on the pilots, of when they're going up, when their new sortie is, whatever it is. So I can't pinpoint the time.
Okay.
But it was it would seem like fast days, but also slow. I don't know. You know.
I get what you mean, and I guess just one more question on this because I'm very interested by fighter jets and fighter pilots. I always have been. What are the pilots like? Were they generally good people?
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't say anything bad about any of the pilots that I dealt with. I mean, they were all very respectful guys. They took their job seriously. A lot of young dudes, man. Now that I look back, I was 19 years old, 20 years old talking to these guys. They're probably my age now, 24, 25 years old.
Right.
Maybe 27 if they went to the academy. I'm not sure. But they were young dudes, man. They had families, and they were risking their life every time they went up there because you never know what's going to go wrong with that fighter jet.
Yeah.
And every time they got up there, every time I shook their hand and said, have a good flight, I was like, dude, I could be the last hand that this dude ever shakes.
I didn't think about that, but you're totally right.
Oh, no. Every day. When I was on the flight line, like I said, it's a lot more stressful. I give those dudes a lot of credit. I was stressed, man. I was losing hair. Like I was just I was just thinking about the fact that what I'm doing when I climb up that ladder and say, have a good flight, I could be the last face this dude sees. He's got a wife. He's got kids, And
in a way, the maintenance that you're doing on these planes, it needs to be perfect because if it's not, in theory, something could go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully, thank God, a lot of the times if something does go wrong, they get down.
Okay.
But there's so many times you hear these horror stories of plane goes down, pilot deceased, and you're like, man, like I wonder if that was a crew chief's fault. Like I wonder if that was like my fault. But there's so many moving parts that you don't. I just say it just in case people in the military are listening to this.
Right.
It's never one person's fault.
Always.
And it really is a team. When you see everything that goes on and every moving person, object, I just don't want anybody to ever think it was just them. Because in the military, there's a lot of pointing fingers.
Really?
Who was it? Who did this? We all messed up, and I know they're trying to get it down to the single guy, but I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah, it's a complete team game, and I feel like that's the same way with a lot of things in life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm trying to be better at this, but I often look for people to blame, even from my own shortcomings. Until I recently started taking accountability, it was like, all right, well, this didn't go well for me, so whose fault is it, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, a lot of times it is my fault, not anybody else's. But especially in team things, it's never one person's fault.
No, yeah, and it's like you said, accountability, right?
Yeah.
If I know I did something,
Right.
I'm raising my hand and I'm taking the screaming at or whatever it was.
You'll eat that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, I'm not gonna sit there and go like, the whole like smelt it, dealt it. Like, no. I'm not doing that. Like, it was me. It was me.
Yeah.
I messed up.
So I think another really cool thing, another cool story that at the time I raised an eyebrow at, but has really turned into a beautiful life for you, is the way that you met your now wife.
Yeah.
This happened while you were in the military, and I think it happened in a more unique way than most would say they met their wives. So how did you meet Jess?
So,
And who is Jess?
Jessica's my wife.
Jessica's your wife.
She's a lovely woman.
She's wonderful.
I'm very blessed.
Yes.
She basically, I had known barely of her. I knew she looked familiar, and basically what happened was I had posted in my church group chat on Facebook at the time, just asking that people would pray for my brother. He was starting to go to church. He had never been a church goer that much. So I was just like, hey, if you could keep him in your prayers, I'm going to Japan. I'd really appreciate it. Just keep an eye out, say what's up to him, that type of thing. Then her mother commented on that post and was like, I'm going to be praying. Like, God bless you. Good luck. Thank you for your service. Her profile picture is Jess. And so I'm like, this lady's name is Peggy.
But it looks...
And I'm like, but it looks like this young woman. And again, no offense to the name. I'm not saying anything. But
you just didn't
I was
expect
just
that
like,
profile picture to be a Peggy.
Exactly. Because I had never really heard like the name Peggy with people that looked my age.
Right.
So, moral of the story, I click on the page and I'm like, oh wait, no, this is her. This is either like her mother, like a relative. I didn't know who it was. So I just scrolled down and I wasn't creeping, but right there where those first 6 friends are, the recommended or
One
whatever,
of them was Jess.
One of them was Jess. Clicked on it, didn't even think, was just like, add friend. So I added her, and then I think later that day, I added her on Instagram.
How'd you find her Instagram?
I just looked up her name.
So then you were looking a little.
I was creeping.
Yeah,
I was creeping. I'm not gonna sit here in front.
Yo.
So I'm creeping.
Yeah.
And I look her up on Instagram.
But you were creeping with respect.
Oh no. I wasn't being a weirdo.
Yeah, you were respectfully
I was just
creeping.
like, this woman is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I just want to see if I know her. Like, she looks kind of familiar.
Right.
And I kind of knew I didn't really know her.
Yeah, let's be real. You knew you didn't know her.
Maybe I'll get to know her.
Yeah, right. And maybe you kind of did.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
So then I hit her up. I follow her on Instagram, and I didn't hit her up yet.
Yeah.
I'm at work, and Japan is 13 and a half hours ahead. So I'm sitting at work. It's like 1 p.m., and I'm talking to this dude, Watkins. Shout out to my buddy Watkins. I'm talking to him. We're sorting out bolts and washers and all these little parts.
You mean like little screws and bolts?
Dude, we're just sorting them into bins. It's a long week we had together.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm going, it's been 2 days probably since I friended her on Facebook. And I'm going, dude, I don't know why I want to be single, I said to myself. But I keep thinking about this girl, and I don't even really know her. And I'm telling him this. And I'm like, I feel like I want to reach out to her, but is it pointless? I'm in Japan. I just got here 2 months ago.
Also, it's wild because you never met her.
Exactly.
You don't really know the first thing about her, but something about her, you're like, she is captivating me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, and that was the conversation. I told him, I don't really know her. I know I sound crazy.
Yeah.
And I know I just got to Japan, so this makes no sense because clearly she's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to reach out to her. So he goes, and I'll never forget it.
Okay.
And I always tell people when they ask me, because it's I don't know, girls are like, oh, that's so cute, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he looks at me and goes, dude, worst case scenario, you DM her on Instagram, and she never replies to you. And best case scenario is, I don't know, dude, she could end up being your wife.
Are you serious?
And he said those words, and right when he said it, I opened my phone up, and I DM'd her.
What'd you say?
I was just like, and I wanted to sound like as sly as I could.
Yeah. So
I was just like, hey, I'm Sebastien. I don't ever do this. Because I never did.
No, you don't.
I didn't DM people. I wasn't creeping. Like, if I saw you out, maybe I'd say hello. or if we went to school together, something like that, or if we were already Snapchatting, whatever it was.
Yep.
But I never DM'd. So I just said, hey, I don't usually do this. I don't mean to sound weird, but for some reason, I wanted to reach out to you, and I just wanted to give you my Snapchat. If you're ever interested in talking, I would love to get to know you. If not, I totally understand.
So respectful.
Yeah. And,
not weird.
And I just said that, and I was like, you know what? Like he said, best case scenario, this is going to be my wife, and here we are 5 years later.
Wow. And so obviously she got back to you?
Yeah, she got back to me, and we just started FaceTiming, and you know, I'm not a huge fan of technology. I like some of it.
Yep.
But there's many things where I'm like, we got to talk more in person like this. You know, we got to have more human conversations. But FaceTime was a life saver.
FaceTime at that time was as close as you can get.
That was it.
And I think it's important to remind everybody that you guys had never met in person.
Never. Yeah, we had never met in person, never shook hands. Maybe we were in the same church.
Yeah,
you know, maybe
right.
we were in the same place at the same time in passing. She was actually a shadow teacher in my class in high school.
Really?
So my math teacher, my senior year, had her shadowing him, and I remember seeing her.
Oh, so you had seen her before?
I'd seen her there, but that is like a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
And that math teacher is now my cousin-in-law because he married into her family.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So that is a big, crazy other side story. But moral of the story, she reaches out, we FaceTime, and as weird as people may think that is, we began a relationship that way. But I got to know this person extremely well in a short matter of time because all we had was communication with each other.
That's an excellent way of putting it.
We were not texting. Of course, we were texting, but our main source of conversations was face-to-face on FaceTime, and we would sit there. I would do creative things, dude. I'd be like, I'm gonna Uber Eats you food, whatever you want
in America,
and I'm going to send flowers to her house, and she wouldn't know. And we're going to have a date on the phone. You're going to put on your movie. I'm going to stay up late in Japan. It'll be morning for you on a Saturday, and we're going to click that movie at the same time, and we're going to watch it. And I got creative, dude. I was just like, I want this to work. I really love this woman. I knew right off the bat.
I was just going to say, so you knew?
Oh, no, dude. When they say, when you know, you know.
You know.
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew from the first day I talked to her. I was like, uh-oh. I remember calling my mom and going, this sounds crazy. I think I'm going to marry this girl. And my mom was like, okay, slow down, blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I knew, though. I was like, if this works out, if she's patient and waits for me to finish up my time in Japan, this is going to work. And God willing, this is a part of his plan for me. And it's going to go smooth. And there was many bumps, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, man, no relationship's perfect. Let's not sit here and act like it was a fairy tale.
Again, a lot of flaws, a lot of ways we could have acted different and honored God more.
Yeah.
But, I'm just glad to say that it worked out and that we are now married and everything is very well.
Well, I attended your wedding this past summer.
You were in my wedding.
I was not. I not only attended, I was in the wedding.
In my wedding.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. Just looked beautiful.
Thank you, dude.
And I will say that the first time I heard about Jess, I was also like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Seb has an internet girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But she was very real. I don't think I realized at the time the extent to which you two were forming like a real relationship.
Yeah, man. No, and again, that was tough. That was a hard couple months, maybe a year of my life where, I'm seeing like everybody's judging me, everybody in my family. And again, I love them all, but everybody in my family's judging me.
Yeah, and maybe there was some merit in their judgment.
Yeah, and again, I understand. And I know they're just concerned they love me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, imagine you love somebody a lot and you're really talking to this person every day. And everybody's telling you you're crazy and it's not going to work and this and that. And you're like, all right.
You're like, well, suit yourself then.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, man, that was a big moment in my life where I wasn't doing anything. I mean, again, saying I wasn't doing anything bad would be a lie. But I was in that relationship of me pursuing that.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything wrong there. I was a young man who was attracted to a young woman,
Yeah.
and I was being respectful, and I wanted to pursue that relationship, and obviously, like I said, thank God it was a part of his plan, because here we are.
Well, first of all, I think it's a beautiful story. Now that it's all said and done, and you guys have the most wonderful relationship.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And you keep referring back to his plan, right, and his timing.
Yeah.
Faith is a big part of your life.
Absolutely.
And it's becoming an increasingly big part of mine, slowly, bit by bit. And I've been inspired by you and your brother, who's a best friend and a brother to me as well. Could you talk a bit about how important faith is to you? But maybe start with what actually brought you to faith.
Yeah. I mean, it would be disrespectful of me not to mention my mother. You know, she brought us to a church in Trumbull, one that was a lot different than one I'd ever seen before. I grew up as those types of Catholics that go on Christmas and Easter, and that's it.
I did too.
And, that was it. That was what I knew church to be and what I knew of God. And I always knew God. I believed God was real. I just didn't have any relationship with Jesus.
Yep.
And then my mom brings us to this church. They're singing different. They're worshiping. They're doing all these things differently. And I thought it was pretty weird, to be honest, at first. And then my grandfather passes away. I want to say that's my senior year. Yeah, my senior year of high school, he passes away. But once my parents split up in my junior year of high school, I start Ubering to this church alone. I start Ubering there. I meet one of my good friends that you know from the wedding, Zach.
Yep.
He would pick me up sometimes, bring me to young adults, bring me to Sunday service, whatever it was. He was a great, great mentor, still is in my life. And I was just going there and feeling at peace in a time when I had a lot of anxiety, when I had a lot of stress, when I was overthinking everything in my life. I was at peace, at a real peace for that 1.5 hours of my Sunday morning or my 1.5 hours Thursday night going to youth group. And I knew something was different, and I started reading. I started watching things on YouTube. I started just kind of researching, and I remember for me, people call it getting saved. For me, I raised my hand one day when the pastor was praying, and he said, if you've never accepted Jesus in your life and in your heart and in your mind, just raise your hand right now and just give your life to him and stop trying to do everything your way and stop trying to be, everything's about you, right? Everything is how you want it to go. Just let him take control. And it just, I was like, this is me, man. He's talking to me. Just raised my hand, and that was the day that I knew I had a relationship with Jesus. And
In that moment, how comforting was that?
I mean, dude, it was life-changing. I mean, and again, in no way was I, from that point, my junior year, I still had huge trials ahead of me.
Right.
So many missteps, so many me acting a fool. You know, if it was drinking or smoking weed or, again, I'm an open book. If it was premarital sex, anything of that sort, I'd stumbled. And I'm not saying that was good or since I have a relationship with
You're
Jesus,
excused.
Everything's okay.
Yeah, right.
That was not the case.
Right.
And it's taken me a long time to learn that. And I say it now, like me at work, if I swear now, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. And it took me a while to get even to that place. But finding Jesus and growing as a Christian, because again, nobody's perfect. The only perfect person to ever walk this earth, in my opinion, was Jesus Christ. He was sinless, perfect, and he died for my sins because he knew I would sin, but that doesn't give me an excuse to continue to sin. It's recognizing my sin and going, okay, this is wrong, and now I need to fix it because of what Jesus did for me. And he's real, man. I feel it. You know, there's days when I'm beating myself down. You know, I'm exhausted mentally, spiritually, and I just close my eyes and I just pray. If I'm in the break room at work, if I'm at home on the couch, if I'm just feeling my heart going and going, I just pray and I'm like, man, I actually genuinely feel better. It's not an act. It's not a stunt. I've given my my personal life and my morals and everything over to God. And again, it's a work in process. There's days where I'll stub my toe, or I'll just be acting a fool trying to make a funny joke and say something stupid and go, did I need to say that?
It's I mentioned earlier that I'm still figuring out my journey in faith, and I've been inspired by you guys. And one of the reasons that I believe I've been called in some ways back to my faith is by watching you and your brothers' transformations since becoming faithful. And you said, it was around your junior year of high school that this kind of happened for you. And if you just look at what your life was before and what your life is after, it's almost like it's two different people.
Night and day.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's, I'm not saying that is the reason, but maybe it is the reason. Or maybe it's what started the chain that ultimately led to the person that you are today. And there's merit in that. And I don't think that people need to be lost to find faith. I don't think you need to hit rock bottom to do it.
Yeah.
I would not say I hit rock bottom, but I will say that I feel, I've read some scripture. I feel comforted by it. I feel comforted knowing that there is some being out there in the world that forgives and that wants the best for me and that is a force for good. But like I said, I'm still at the beginning of this journey. I know I can be better. I was raised Christian, and it's something I'm still kind of figuring out. And what I appreciate about you as a good friend of mine is that you don't force your faith upon anybody.
Well, yeah, that's not my job, man. I want you to know, like my job is to tell you, like if you come to me, or if I just feel like I told you once, I texted you and said, Mike, you're a great dude. And I said, but you know how much better you'd be with Jesus? Right. And I only said that because I love you and I care about you. And I knew, like you just said, who I was before Jesus. I truly am, like, again, I don't want to say disgusted with, but like I was not the man or the guy that I am now. I didn't have the respect for women that I do now. I didn't have the vocabulary of just being a respectful man that I do now. And I knew for you, I was like, man, this guy is an awesome dude. Yep. Your brother Matt, awesome dude. But I know that with Jesus, you guys would be like on a new level of just being great, down to earth guys that you already are, but just to a new level. And I don't want to force it. I don't judge you. Like if you're not a Christian, I wasn't always a man of God. And I'm so glad that when I met Zach, he wasn't like, oh, this kid's kind of a punk. Like I could tell he's up to no good. Like he wasn't looking at me, judging me. He was like, hey man, what's your name? Hey man, what's your story? Yeah. Well, why are you here? Oh, you don't really know yet? Okay, well, I'm here for you if you need a ride. Like that changed my life. His kindness and his heart for a kid that he didn't know and a kid that he didn't have to give a damn about. Literally changed your life. Him just coming up to me and just saying hello changed my whole life. And I tell him all the time, I love him to death. I do anything for him. Yeah. And that's just from him being a good dude to a random kid.
Because at the end of the day, part of the Christian faith, and honestly all religions, for the most part, I think, are just about being good people. Yeah. Like, how can you be a good man? How can you be a good woman? And what does that mean? Mm-hmm. What does being a good man mean to you?
Well, I mean, now it means a lot more than it did back then, because now I think of Jesus. Yeah. Jesus was sinless. Jesus was the Son of God sent down to earth to die for my sins. So when I swear, I go, would I do that in front of Jesus? Mm-hmm. And again, I will be the first to tell you when I'm at work and it's a work in progress, but when I'm there and if I cut my hand or whatever, I say a word and I'm like, I'm sorry. Yep. But I think being a man who is in tune with Jesus and God's will and God's plan for you and repenting, I think is huge. I think that makes you a good man. If you can sit there and go, I messed up. This was really dumb of me, but I'm sorry and I don't want to do this again. And I'm sorry if I do it again, but please guide me, guide my heart to not want to do that. That, I think, is being a good man. You're making an effort to better yourself, and that's mentally and emotionally, which is, you can go to the gym all the time and get huge, and that's great, and physically that's awesome. but what are you doing for the inner man?
Right.
What are you doing for the guy that's inside of all that muscle? Are you happy? Are you healthy? Do you have a relationship with your wife? Are you just going home every night? Are you asking her, hey, am I still loving you the way that I was 5 years ago? Do you still feel loved? Those things, you gotta want to better yourself, the inner man, all the time. And props to my brother-in-law, Brian. He preached about the inner man and stuck with me forever. So props to him.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And, one thing that I have found comfort actually in my own journey in faith is this idea that I am eternally humbled by God. I can never be as good as God.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, it's almost comforting. Like there's something out there that will always be perfect, and you are not.
Yep.
And you will never be perfect because there is only one perfect being.
That's it.
And therefore, some of my own feelings of not being good enough, I struggle with feelings of inadequacy, are almost in some way healed because I'm not expected to be perfect in his eyes. I'm expected to strive for perfection.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do. But in years past where I would beat myself up when I would fall short, now I admittedly still, I'm upset with myself when I fail or I don't do exactly what I say I'm going to do. But I know that it's okay because I can never be perfect. And as long as I'm striving to be that, truly striving, like in my heart of hearts, know that I'm working as hard as I can for whatever righteous ideal I'm trying to bring to life, then that's good enough.
Yeah.
That is a powerful mindset shift that I've developed since I kind of found my faith again.
Yeah, man. No, that's huge. I mean, you hit it on the head because, I mean, like you said, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Of just beating yourself up, always thinking you're not good enough. Oh, man, I make this much, but I should maybe make this much.
All the time.
You can go down any lane and just go, oh, man, yeah, I should be here, and maybe I should be doing this or that. And just finding peace, and I say this, and I need this work as well, but trying to find peace in where you're at right now and going, I'm further than I was back here, and God's brought me all the way here.
Yep.
He's going to continue to bring me forward. I just have to trust in him.
Right.
And not keep on putting everything on my shoulders and
Yeah.
going, it's all me. It's not. God's got you where he wants you. But it's if you're going to sit there and accept that and go, okay, even though I have big goals and big dreams, right now I'm where I'm at. So how can I make it work where I'm at?
Right.
How can I be better where I'm at? And then maybe God will move me here.
And that's comforting.
Yeah.
That feels good. And it's what I love is that God doesn't give you an excuse to be complacent. He doesn't say, I love you and you're good enough, so therefore be sedentary. Don't move up in the world.
Yep.
Don't achieve. Instead, for me, it's a call to action in a major way with the wind at my back is what I'll say. It's a call to action to be my best self with a force for good in the world that's moving with me.
I like that.
And that feels really good. I guess one of the things that I want to praise you for before we maybe move on from this is I've prayed with you before. I don't pray as much as I should. My father, he's a good Christian man. He prays every day multiple times. I need to do that more. I used to think praying when I was a kid was asking God for things. Hey, God, I need this. I need that. Please, whatever. When I pray with you and your brother, I've only ever heard you guys thank God for what you have. It is an act of gratitude and not, I think Jordan Peterson once described it as people believe God is a deified butler. You guys don't do that. It's thank you so much. I'm here with my friends. Thank you for all that I have. It's not, hey, can we please get a sunny day? That's something that I never realized. And I think whether or not you believe God is real or not, taking some time to just be with your thoughts and being grateful is something that everybody should do. Because I don't care how much of a victim you are or you think you are, there's a lot of good that happens in this world that we should be thankful for. Whether it's happening to you or happening to other people, I think it's important to remember that. And instead of praying, asking for things, we need to start praying and being grateful for where we are.
Dude, that's, again, huge, and I appreciate you saying that because, I mean, like you said, you've heard me. Honestly, I start every single prayer, thank you, God, for another day.
Love it.
And because, like I told you before we started this conversation, the only thing that we are not promised by anybody,
tomorrow.
God or anybody, is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And when I wake up in the morning and I see my lovely wife and I have the, whatever, in Connecticut in the summer, we have the sunlight coming in now, we're in the East Coast.
And you've got the fig hallway.
And we got the fig hallway, dude. and I go in there and say, man, look at all this plastic crack all around here. But no, anyways, just being able to get up and stand on my 2 feet and breathe in air and not have any health problems right now.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. I'm healthy enough. I'm eating burgers still like a fatty.
You look good.
But hey, I'm healthy.
Yep.
So all those things, those are blessings.
Yeah.
I might not be a millionaire, but I'm blessed. Yeah. I might not make $100,000 a year, but I'm blessed. Yeah. I might not have the truck that I wish I had, but I'm blessed. I have a car that's getting me to work. It has AC in the car.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I have the roof over my head. I have a pillow. I have a bed. I have clothes on my back right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you get down to every little thing, you'll go, man, I'm ungrateful is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you can eat a little bit of humble pie and go, look at how great my life is. Yeah. Look at how great my life is. Yeah. I want that burger. Let's go get it. That's a blessing, dude.
Totally.
Like there were times when I was counting like, again, like, oh, I got $8. What can I get with $8? Right now, I'm like, we need groceries? Okay, let's go. Like, that's a huge blessing.
Unbelievable.
That's huge.
Massive. That so many people actually don't have.
And if you don't have that, again, and I can't, I could because I've been in all different types of boats. But if you don't have that, then what do you have? Do you have a relationship with your son?
Right.
Do you have a relationship with your brother?
Right.
Then you're blessed.
Because you have something.
I know people that don't have any relationship, but then they go, but I have God.
Right.
And I'm like, so you're blessed.
Right.
You can keep going through everybody's life and go, okay, yeah, I understand, but you're breathing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not on a ventilator.
Right.
Let's find a way to make this good. Let's try, and it's easy to say.
Because look, what's the alternative? What,
Yeah.
you sit and wallow in your self-pity? Seriously. And look, I'm going to be honest. I do that sometimes.
We all do.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I wake up and I'm about to go to the job that pays me handsomely and is secure, and I am miserable.
Dude, if I'm being honest with you, when I check into work, I have to tell myself, and I pray for it in the morning, please give me a positive attitude today.
Yep.
So that I can be of some light to someone in here today. Yep. Because if you're not,
it's going to be hard.
Nobody else is. And there are happy people in the workplace, but there are more often than not miserable people, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
But if you can be the one dude who shows up to work and goes, hey, good morning, how you doing? How was your weekend? That right there could change one dude's whole day.
And that's all. That's all it takes.
You know what I mean?
And again, I'm not going to sit here and virtue signal and act like I'm some ray of sunshine at my desk.
Oh, no. I come in sometimes, I'm mean mugging everybody.
Dudes are like, hey, good morning. I'm like, go to your seat. Don't say a word to me. But on balance, I would say I try to be a pleasant person.
Yeah.
Because I think the world needs more pleasant people.
Yeah.
And I find that faith is a great way to, I would say, energize me to be a little more positive.
Dude, like I said, man, if Jesus could hang on that cross and he did nothing wrong, then we do a lot of wrong. We can put a smile on our face and show up at work and say good morning to people.
Seriously, man. Seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I think one really interesting way to maybe close this interview, and one thing that I've been trying to do more of in my life, is be my authentic self. So what that means to me is actually sitting down, really sitting down, putting my phone away and thinking, hey, what actually makes me happy? What are the skills that I have that I want to continue to hone? What are the activities that I really like doing? And what are the things that I don't like doing? What would you say being authentic looks and feels like for you? And the reason why I ask is because I feel like today with social media, we have a lot of pressure to be versions of ourselves that are not our true selves. What does that mean to you, and what does that look like in your life?
Well, first off, that is a very difficult question, but I do think I'm going to do my best to answer it because that's what we're here for.
Of course.
We're here to ask the tough questions
and answer them.
To answer
them.
Or
at least try.
So if my answer doesn't sound entirely intelligent, I do apologize. Okay. But for me, I think just being your authentic self, I think for me that means just sticking to the things that you love, and I don't want to phrase this in a way where people could twist my words.
Okay.
You have to have morals, first of all.
Definitely.
So, and I think that comes with your authentic, true self, because I can sit there and go, I believe in the Bible, right? I believe what that thing says, and I believe the words, and I believe in Jesus. But then if I go to the bar and get blackout drunk,
Yep.
am I being authentic to what I believe? So for me, I think my beliefs set up what I should be like.
They set the framework.
They set the framework. And then on top of that, in the middle there, it's me not folding to what the world wants me to be. I am who I am. I'm a husband. I'm a brother.
Yep.
I love my family. I love my friends. I want to give you my 100% when I'm with you. I don't want, and don't get me wrong, I'll be on my phone quick and then go, I'm at a family party. What am I doing?
I do the same thing.
But that right there, to me, that is my authentic self. I want to be present in the moment with you or with whoever I'm with and let you know I care genuinely about the time that we're spending.
Yep.
And I don't have anything better to do, because I feel like in today's world, everybody has something to do. Everybody's in a rush. Everybody's moving. Everybody's always going
Especially
crazy.
in this area that we live in, the Northeast, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's going a million miles a minute.
Oh yeah, and I want you to know when I meet with you, like I met with my teacher today and went on that walk.
Yep.
I didn't pull my phone out once, and we were walking for 2 hours straight. Yeah. We were talking. We were having genuine conversation. That's what I want people to remember me by, is a guy that genuinely loved, genuinely cared, and genuinely showed you that I'm here for you, and I'm a man of God, and I want you to know through my actions.
Yep.
and not being a phony. I want myself to grow to be, even if you're telling me something I don't know anything about, you care about it. Let me sit and open my ears and go, hey, man, he wants to talk to me.
That's so beautiful, man. Because so many people, I shouldn't say so many. Some people aren't like that today. They listen just to respond. They don't listen to hear. And I think that's one of the best ways that you can make people feel important is listening to them, hearing what they have to say, you know? Because I think it's very important to learn that, and I think you know this well, your own life is vibrant and exciting, and obviously you see it through your own eyes, but everybody else has that same experience in their own selves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, like we talked about with the YouTube thing, and first off, my wife always says, you're a very good example of actually caring about what somebody's saying.
Oh, thank you.
Because when you talk with her, we see you, she's always like, he's just so nice how he actually asks me about my job and actually wants to know what I do.
Yeah.
So compliments to you.
Thank you for saying that.
You do a great job of just being yourself.
Thank you.
But secondly, the whole toy thing, dude. I'm a 24 and a half year old guy who has a bunch of figures and Funko Pops and all these things. And I, for a long time, was very much hiding it and going, I like this, but I probably shouldn't, and people are gonna think I'm weird. I'm a man. I can't be having Funko Pops and this and that. And then I hit a wall where I was like, and I told you this when we weren't recording. Okay, you like buying $300 pairs of sneakers, not wearing them at all, putting them in your closet, and trying to sell them again later. And you have a ton of sneakers just sitting in your room, and you never wear them, but you spent $300 on them. I don't think you're weird for that. If you like that, go for it, dude. If you like having your whole house full of plants, and you treat them like they're your children,
go for it.
I do not think you're weird, genuinely. Go for it. So if I'm following God's will and I'm collecting and I'm not blowing me and my wife's savings and I'm not...
Which you're not.
No, but that's the thing. Again, if it's innocent and I have a little chunk of allowance that I use on a hobby and she uses a little chunk of allowance to get some new clothes, we work hard and we're blessed. Thank God we can, right?
Yes.
And that's it. I'm not hurting anybody. I know it might be weird to you, but something you do might be weird to me.
Exactly.
So,
And not only that, you found such a cool community of other people through your YouTube channel that also are like, hey man, this stuff is awesome.
Dude, so many great guys.
Seriously.
So many great guys. I mean, I was just at WrestleMania and they had a tailgate, a bunch of these guys that I've known online for years.
You're kidding.
And just meeting up with them, having a good time, talking about figures. Like, these are grown men. These are 40-year-old men, 35-year-old men. I'm 24. We're all different ages, but we have a common hobby that we like, and now we're friends, and we're from all over the country.
No way.
And it's like, okay, that to you might be weird. To me, that's awesome. To me, I'm talking with guys from all over the country, innocently, having great conversations about plastic items.
Yeah.
And again, no inappropriate thing there. It's just toys.
It's
just
literally just figures.
Yeah, so again, if that bothers people, I'm sorry, but that's a part of my authentic self, is just tapping into things that you enjoy that are innocent and not doing anything against God's will for me.
Yep.
And going, okay, I enjoy this. If you don't like that, I'm sorry.
I love it, man, and I think you're a perfect example of what I hope more men aspire to be like, which is somebody that just does what they believe is the right thing to do and follows their passions and their interests and, tries to just generally be kind. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of those things.
All by the grace of God, my man.
And all by the grace of God. I think I'll wrap up with one final question. So we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about, obviously, your hobbies. We talked about faith. We talked about your time in the military. I've been thinking a lot about my legacy lately. And maybe that's good and maybe that's bad. When I go, wherever I go, what's my story going to be here? And part of the reason why I've been thinking about this is I was a little fed up with my current situation, call it 3 to 6 months ago. I needed to make a change because if I didn't make a change, then the legacy that I was going to leave behind wasn't going to be the one that I wanted to leave. When you think about your legacy and the stories that people are going to pass on about, Seb, what do you want that to look like?
I don't even think of it as much like, I don't know if I'd say legacy. I just want the stories to be what we talked about just now. He was a good man with a good heart who genuinely cared about anybody who he came in contact with. And he, despite differences in opinions or interests, he didn't judge. He treated you with respect.
He was tolerant.
He was tolerant and just loving, man. Like just being a good person, but also like a strong person in his own beliefs. Like I don't want people to go, oh, he was a Christian? I never even knew that.
Right.
I want you to know who I am. If you don't like it, I apologize. But I want you to know my true self.
Yeah.
And I want my kids, God willing, I have kids one day, I want them to say, my dad was an awesome dude. Yeah. And I want my wife to go, my husband was a great man. He was a great provider.
Right.
He was a great husband. He cared. It wasn't just, oh, he worked hard and he gave us money and he brought income in. No, he was a great husband. Yeah. He showed up for me. He had the heart. We connected. He made time for me. Those things matter. For people to say he picked up when I called them. He sat and talked and didn't just say, hey, how you doing? Oh, weather's good? Cool. No. He genuinely
checked
cared.
on you. He said, how are you?
Exactly.
And man, honestly, and I've said this on a previous episode, but I think for a long time I thought that my legacy needed to have something to do with a business I built or money I've earned or houses I leave behind. And I've said this before, but truthfully, what you just described is priceless. That type of legacy is priceless. And yeah, man, I know that you're well on your way. And I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you, dude, man. I appreciate it because, like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be trying to get on here to chat with you. And even if people look at YouTube and go, oh, only 450 subscribers, only 600 subscribers.
You're coming up on 700.
Well, hey, one day. But people always think, oh, you need over 1,000. You need over 10,000. For the amount of people that I saw in your comment section saying, dude, I'd love to get on there and talk. Yeah. That's awesome. So thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you for sitting down and having the questions prepared for a normal dude from Connecticut who's working a 9 to 5 and just, or a 5 to 4, whatever.
Whatever your night shifts are.
Whatever the heck it is. But thank you for this and for just some genuine conversation. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm sure that everybody's going to hope to have you back, maybe for a second round.
I'm always down.
Yeah.
I'm always down.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you next week.